Hey everybody, in today's episode I'm going to be doing something really awesome. This is a roller coaster I created in my Planet Coaster 2 Park Funland. This coaster is just amazing. It fits just to the side of where Chase, our other coaster, had been, and just to the right of the Mine Train coaster's exterior portion where it loops down. And it kind of sits in this lonely little spot that I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with this area in general. So I kind of decided, well, why not put a small, looping, tightly knotted up steel coaster there? And that's what I did here. I went through poking through the menu because I knew immediately what I wanted in my head, and this was it. This was definitely it. I even like the color of this. I really debated putting up a raised platform or not for like launching out where you fall out. But no, I thought that old school feeling of a coaster that kind of grinded as it climbed up and it went up by friction wheels. That's the kind of coaster I wanted here because I wanted it to climb fairly quickly. So it has to climb mostly in a spiral and then drop very quickly and then do its thing and drop back into the station without spreading too far out behind the station's footprint. So kind of right on that hill, a little bit bigger than the space a flat ride would take up, and maybe a little bit interactive with Chase, but not really. I'll be doing a full update kind of tour down the road for Chase and the other rides. I've done a lot of work here with Chase. From the last video, I got everything kind of shaped up there, and it really starts to look nice. So in our park here, I have like a script I've written out. The amusement park's expansion plans hit a major snag with only a small but awkward plot of land left, and the park's owners needed a thrilling new ride to draw in the crowds. But how do you fit a massive adrenaline-pumping steel coaster into such a tiny space? This limited area that we have available to us kind of means there's no room for a sprawling track layout. And every curb, loop, twist, and all that has to work kind of perfectly. Early concepts of this, they all felt a little bit too tame, or they were way too chaotic and crazy. Balancing intensity with ride comfort is very critical in this situation. No one wants a coaster that's all loops, no fun. You can see me here kind of working out what I'm doing as far as the track goes, the layout, and the main challenge is dropping it back into the station quick enough. You don't want to break people's necks trying to whip the train around and then slamming it to a halt in the station. So you need a cooldown zone. You need a zone where it's going to it's gonna brake heavily. So here I ride the coaster through. I did it in fast forward because I don't want to run too much. But basically what I'm looking for when I do that is where all the little kinks are, where all my little annoyances are. So the smoothing brush is still a terrible mess. It gets hung up on any elements that are pre-game made, any brake sections, any block sections, things like that. It gets hung up on lift hills and the station, and it just won't go any further. You got to move it and get it to go. But here I wanted a kind of a smushed loop. So a loop that has fallen on its side is how I wanted this drop to be. I call it a J drop. I know that there's a term for it, I just can't remember what it is. And it kind of goes into a figure eight, and that figure eight turns into a vertical loop, which spins around and becomes a squashed corkscrew, I think is how it all works out in the end there, which is really cool. It's a nice concept. A lot of it feels very Mobius strip. There is a little bit of hang time there across the upside down. Is the carts do hang upside down quite a bit. And I kind of had this general layout to the track completed. Now, I'll tell you this is mostly how the track remains till the very end of the ride's build. There is a slight adjustment to the drop, making it a little more dramatic. And I think the approach right after that is adjusted slightly. But other than that, you're looking at what the track actually looks like. So now we should really start to think about how do we finalize the area, and build a building around it. Make everything really nice and official. Well, that's going to be a lot easier for us to solve than what to do with this plot of land. I started this particular part of the problem with my usual solution. Get a platform, lower it, rotate it, get it into position, and then get it below track level. It's not going to be believable unless you make sure it's below track level. And I always kind of struggle with exactly how much beyond the station should be building. And I think personally that I made a good choice here, but you'll have to let me know in the comments if you think I could have done better with the station's footprint. But this is my usual build style. Now you'll see the carts have changed a little bit from the initial test footage of the build. But yeah, the cart change was just for me to test different cart layouts and different feelings. Now this was actually filmed over an entire week of work. And what's really interesting and kind of crazy in this is that the update from Planet Coaster 2's December 12th update hadn't come out yet, so we didn't have glass panes in the game yet. And those were fully intended, those open slots, because I knew they were coming. And the other half of this video is filmed after that particular time, and I still had not put glass panes in. In fact, as I'm doing this voiceover, I'm thinking to myself, and there's still not glass panes in those slots, and I really have to get to work on that a little bit better. For the roof, I just went with your standard old wooden roof type of thing. And I did a couple zoomies around the building looking for any of the little flaws and places that need adjusted and built, things like that. Special shout outs are in order while we watch what I did here with the station. So I wanted to thank, I think it's Clouds who talked about it, but it could have been Cold Sore as well, who mentioned that I had a hoarse voice in one of my other videos, and I indeed did. I work at a factory, and at the end of the day, for a little while, my voice is hoarse, and then it comes back. Thank you so much, though, for participating in that particular part of the comments. If you want to go to the comments and there's a ride that's unnamed to the park, you can name it. You'll get a shout out. This particular ride was adopted by Marvy Jin on the Discord. Marvy G 3D, who is the channel's official sponsor. And I decided to name this coaster in honor of Marvy, who suggested a wonderful theme for it and general kind of ideas. So he said to me, and here's, by the way, a great view of Chase, but he said to me that he believed this coaster kind of reminded him of Pinky from Happy Days, and it was Fonzie's girlfriend. And Pinky has a weird last name, and I think Marvy suggested that's the coaster's name, and I immediately thought that's probably not going to work whenever I thought it all the way through. So I settled on Jukebox Twist, I think is what it is, with a Happy Days style theme, which I'll spoil for you now is somewhere in the layout that doesn't exist yet in the video. So I'm gonna show you where that comes into play. But here I actually turned my attention to the mine train, and I wanted to complete this section over here next to the track because it kind of works its way towards Jukebox Twist, which is what we're currently working on. Now, I absolutely love putting these pieces in place and building all these parts, like where you build these little fences and these little bits. It's just so satisfying to an ADHD brain, I guess. I think that's what it is. And of course, I knew I needed a safety fence around the back part of the lift here. which would keep guests and maybe any wandering animals, anything else like that, away from this area. And I love this little stone piece in the game, because not only can you make walls with this, you can legit make really nice, you know, rock wall work that goes around areas. And then just apply a little bit of terrain paint to polish it off, because obviously the grass will be worn away in that area. And then I focused on foliage. Now, originally I thought to myself, well, what about this grass? Why all the grass in the game is brown? I don't understand that. But you have to type in reed, and then you do get these reeds, which I feel didn't totally fit, but they kind of look like elephant grass, so I'm gonna go with it. But why is there no actual grass variant in the game? Like green grass? Doesn't make any sense. Even colorable grass. It just doesn't make any sense. You have all these other variants and none of that, but maybe we'll get the TMTK at some point with this game. I'm guessing we will. Because not having one car thing in the game is also terrible. I mean, it's such a goofy little car. There I hid some items amongst the weeds. Now, I'll tell you this, it was cut out of the video. It was never even filmed. But there was a chairlift that went through this area as well. It has been removed. So there are times when if you're a real sharp-eyed viewer, you're going to see changes to the landscape, changes to a few items near this coaster, where there would have been a station and some ramp work done and stuff like that. But for the most part, most of it is chipped out of the video footage. So here we have our, you know, major kind of coming together of everything. We have the building. You got that wonderful Marvy G 3D on the side of the building where the sign is going to be shortly. You have this fantastic coaster layout. There is even a little bit of hidden things mixed in here that I'm not going to point out, but if you'd like to find them and point them out in the comments, that'd be cool. Now I'm going to work on some trim, putting some trim work around and maybe getting everything kind of adjusted. But here you're going to see something shocking. Okay. It's me, Jason, without the help of Ginge, without the help of Loop-de-Loop or Marvy G, I'm doing custom coaster supports. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I only completed 2 for the sake of this video, and currently there are only 2 out there, but it's a wonderful start. I have to say it's a wonderful start. I don't totally mind it. It is a little bit of a dull task, and that does hurt my mind a little bit when I'm doing it. But overall, it's not bad. It really isn't. It's not bad at all. And it's going to enhance this coaster greatly when it's all completed. Let me tell you, putting that piece in place was a humongous pain in the neck. But in the end, I get it. And you're even going to see how I colored just the smallest part at the bottom, that it's colored purple, but it maintains the same width as far as the pipe goes. And that is super important. I also had to level everything, and I really tweaked with it. I really did. I worked really hard with all the little adjustments and moves, and then I realized if I just separated this and put it in place, I could get it nice and level and then snap point everything back, and I would get a level pole all over again here. Now it hit me right somewhere in here when I really started to think about it, how I could move that color on that piece of pipe. And here's the solution. I simply used a smaller diameter piece, moved it up, and then slid the pink pipe up, and it covers the purple part for any length that you could possibly need it for. And even when that flange isn't there, you really can't tell there's a difference in the pipe. You really can't. Now I struggled here a lot to match color, to match style, to get everything to look like it was part of the coaster. So I chose baselines, but this pipe is clearly a different texture and material than the coaster, and that's a frustration, is what that is. Now, if you happen to hear my cat, I do apologize. She's a very vocal cat. I think I've mentioned her in other videos, that sometimes it's an unavoidable thing. Here I kind of wanted to do some work as far as with the tilt of the piece. I wanted to have a little bit of counter bracing against the forces. And you have to, when you're doing custom coaster supports, you've got to think of the forces at play. You got to think how they would be thought through by an engineer who would design the layout. You also got to think of distance to people's arms and heads. And then we move right into a nighttime lighting of the interior portion. Because I don't yet have an RTX graphics card on my computer, and I have the GTX, I can't do true dark in the game. Now it does get fairly dark at night and lighting does help, but you'll notice a persistent blue glow to everything. It does not go away. And wait a minute, you might be saying to yourself, this is definitely not a Happy Days theme. What is this? Well, funny story, the Happy Days theme didn't come until after building this section. So I really worked on just the overall ambient atmosphere inside of here, and it was built exactly how it would have been built. It was designed and schemed up one way and then adjusted after the fact, and you can kind of see the scars of that after, you know, looking at everything. You can kind of see the after scar from that. And here we go with finishing the lighting. So I'm moving all the lights back out into position, getting the area filled up with lighting so that in a nighttime environment, you know, it does have some kind of a heavily influenced lighting, even though the bugs would be terrible at night with all these open walls, which I'm gonna fix. But yeah, also, if I could recommend to you when you're putting in this lighting, don't be afraid to be overkill with it. They really do go overkill with this kind of lighting, and they always have it in these grids and lines. So everything's set up in grids and lines. You know, because of wiring schemes. And I mean, for the most part, there you go. That's the lighting. It's nothing crazy about it. I did want to light the coaster, but who has time? So yeah, here's where I adjusted this drop. I wanted the drop to be a little more dramatic. I wanted you to kind of plunge and then be pulled back up, which is kind of like a tearing force on your body. It really does pull you hard and kind of smooshes you down in your seat and all that. It's a great force. You feel that stomach drop fall, and then you kind of get that smoosh of acceleration into your seat. And then just intertwining and locking these pieces in a more believable way was something I wanted to do. And I think here is where I started to get the awareness that I could probably do a smushed corkscrew at the end, which is totally not a standard coaster element, but it's one that does exist. I've looked at them. I think there's a few examples, which I can't really think of off the top of my head, but I know they exist. And for all you coaster nerds out there, I'm sure that there's some kind of name for that. And it's probably a lot better than smushed corkscrew. But I like smushed. Smooshed. And then just taking away the hit points where you'd smash into the track as you go under or over it. You also want to make sure things are further than an arm's distance away. So here we get a great chase along view of the coaster, the surrounding landscape. Look at the Viking coaster in the background, and then chase as we plunge into the layout here. We come around the side and there's the mine train coaster in the front entrance of the park, and we do that loop there. Just it hangs so good at the very end here. We do the smushed corkscrew with very little clearance room there, and then we land in the station. Now what's really cool is I like to see everything from the guest's perspective. And you are about to be the guest on the ride. You're gonna see the changes I made to the final room where we form the Happy Days, actual dining room scene, from the diner. And you get to see the way the sign is on the front of the building. This is not done. This will make a return in another video when I fill the entire thing up with tons of Happy Days related stuff. And each of these coasters that we've done through here have had work done to them after the fact. I just finished groundwork on Chase. It was a lot of fun. But now just sit back, relax, tighten up that lap bar, and get ready to ride Jukebox Twist. I'm going to take you through the line, do a little cinematic of the coaster pulling up, and then we're going to jump on the ride. Absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much for watching. Please check out my previous video, Chase, which I think you'll absolutely love. It should be on your screen right now or coming up. I'm not sure. I'm never good at mapping that out for those who know me. But yeah, this has been just a great build and a fantastic fun time had by all. Thank you again, and you have a great night.